To address the World Handball activities, it is my pleasure to introduce Desi Kagan, World Handball Council. Steps over here.
Thank you very much, everybody. Very nice and short speech. First of all, I'd like to introduce, even though Dennis has just done it, is my Vice President, Leah Martin. She's like, stand up now, taking a picture. Thank you. Colin Decker, our Secretary. I'd like to stand up there, please. Thank you very much. We took over the World Handball Council. We all got voted in around July last year, and it's been an absolute pleasure working with both of you, and I want to thank you for everything you've done. Colleen, as everyone who would know, would be very easygoing and mild-mannered. Leanne, not so much. She tells me what to do all the time. And but seriously, I just want to thank you very much. So I want to acknowledge while I'm here the great work that Raquel Barnes done. Sadly, she passed away in March. I know many of you in the room will know who she was. She was a big advocate for wall ball handball, and she was past president of World Handball Council. So a big round of applause for Raquel Barnes for all the great work she done. The biggest aims that we're trying to bring into World Handball is bring in a new structure into our game that, you know, to modernise our sport and try and put in a structure that's going to last us for at least the next decade. So Leanne is working on governance and rules and regulations to try and bring all that up to speed, to bring all the nations together on that. Myself and Colleen were working on strategic development with a few other members of the association, and we just want to kind of be ready in the next 6 to 7 months to be able to launch that and try and drive on our sport a bit, because I kind of feel COVID was very, very difficult for all our associations, and I think it's nice to aspire to some hopes and dreams for our sport. So hopefully in time we can have a lot of very good plans ready for everyone to see and critique, of course. Get a lot of abuse in these positions, so I have to say. So I really want to thank University of Minnesota. It was a pleasure coming back here to see the courts, you know, being used and stuff like that. And the facilities are fantastic. And it always amazed me. I was just walking around today and, you know, seeing the USHA, all the volunteers from here locally and nationally who fly in. Like, without the volunteers, guys, we have nothing. And I think it's important that we always, at every opportunity, acknowledge the volunteers. So a big round of applause for all the volunteers. To USHA staff, I remember on my previous role as handball president in Ireland, we had staff, and anyone who works in handball, God love them, because, you know, they do take a lot of flack, you know what I mean? We all kind of say, well, you should do this, you should do that, but I really think every opportunity we get, Matt and his team should always get a pat on the back, because it's not easy, guys. Like, I mean, I've often spoke to Matt at 5 a.m, his time, not my time, and he's always willing and able, and I think just a big round of applause to Matt Krauser and his team. And finally, for the players themselves, I really want to thank everyone for coming back to handball. It would have been easy for all of us, maybe, maybe we had something else after COVID. We got into habits of doing other things. So a big round of applause to all the players really coming back, and the large numbers, particularly this year. So the biggest reason I'm here, the World's in 2024. So after a lot of negotiating and stuff like that, and talking to GA Handball, Colleen, Leanne and myself, we have worked with GA Handball. So the big plan for 2024 is we're going to split the Worlds. So wall ball is going to be around August time. The dates will be confirmed in the next couple of months. And then full wall will probably in around November 2024. So again, the dates will be confirmed and the venues will be confirmed. But the biggest reason for splitting it is to give particularly the wall ball community the opportunity to maybe host Worlds in years to come, because obviously the hardest thing for the wall ball community is to provide a full wall court. So say, for example, in 8 years from now, why can't New York host the World Championship, for example? They can't at the moment because they wouldn't have the full wall court. So if someone in Belgium felt like they wanted to host the World Championship. So that's the whole thinking behind that. So I really look forward to welcoming you all to Ireland. I was meant to ask, can everyone understand me? Leanne, she said she was trying to.
All right.
I'm talking okay. I'm going a bit fast. I feel like I'm speeding up. So I was meant to say that at the start. So sorry about that. So I hope you all come to the Worlds in 2024 and try not to get killed on our really narrow roads. I remember Lisa. I've seen some pictures. Yeah. You're going around the country as well. So what I'd like to finish up on is it's an honour to see Lisa Fraser being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that's right and proper that the USHA do that. However, from an Irish perspective, she may or may not realise the impact that she had on the game in our country. So I spoke to Fiona Shannon during the week, and I would have known it myself, but it was nice just to catch up with Fiona. And she said to me, she got an awful beating. These are her words, not my words. Martina McMahon came, Shannon Curran came, and to this day, we have female Irish players enrolling into American colleges in collegiate football. And that's in 20 years or less. That's the impact that you've made to our country. And I just want to really acknowledge from an Irish perspective, everything you've done for us is enormous. And you've done it with good grace. You know, you were an unbelievable competitor, but the fact that you were always welcoming to our players, you know what I mean? Like, you would beat them and then give them a hug. Okay. Fair enough. But it did mean a lot to them, like, you know, and I was very, very lucky because first time I seen you play was in Winnipeg in 1987. I was 14 and you were playing Anna. I wish everyone all the best, enjoy the night, and we see you in Ireland in 2024. I wish everyone all the best, enjoy the night, and we see you in Ireland in 2024.
All right. We turn the subtitles off.
Good one. Good one,
Matt.
Just remember to tip your waiters. Okay. Hey, so now as we move along, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Minnesota State Handball Association's Sheldon Silberman.
Short guys. I won't take much time either. I'm just here to kind of get our Minnesota program going. So part of what we usually do with our annual banquet is we induct occasionally some people in our Minnesota State Handball Association. Hopefully you all saw that wall presentation over by court number 2. If you didn't, take a look at it. That's all of the people that we've been inducting into our Handball Hall of Fame, and we have 3 inductees tonight. We also have another award, and I'm going to introduce somebody that most of you know, Mike Wells from Mankato State. He's going to come up and tell you about our Moy Langhurst Award and introduce the recipient, who's actually from last year, but we didn't have a banquet last year. So, Mike Wells from Mankato State. Thank you all.
Thanks, Sheldon. This award is an important one for our state, and I want to make sure I get it right. So, it helped us. You need a driver for the school van. If you want an education, get in a van with 6 college-aged people for 6 hours, and you'll get a good education. But if you need a driver, this person will help us. If you need more players recruited, this person helps us. So, I would think that this player also would say that handball has benefited both his physical and mental wellness. And so I want to say congratulations to Zane Coyle. Woo! I really can't think of anybody that's more deserving of this type of award than Zane. Like anybody that wants a game, Zane will play them, and he's a wonderful young man. So congratulations. Next, Greg Taylor is going to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Hall of Fame. So, Greg.
Here's a step there.
Okay, tonight we have the opportunity to hear about our 3 inductees for the Minnesota State Handball Association Hall of Fame. We have 1 contributor, Mitchell Lallier, and 2 fine players, Pete Krauser and Matt Hiber. Boom, boom. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to give a summary of Mitchell's accomplishments, and he'll come up, introduce his family and his team, and make some comments. And then we're going to have Matt come up to talk about Pete. And Pete will come up and talk. I'll give a few statistics before Pete comes up after Matt talks. And then we'll flip-flop and Pete will talk about Matt. So hang in there. We know it's going to work. And by the way, we have in the back notebooks for each of them explaining why they're inducted and all the results, and many pages from Handball magazine. Thanks to Sam Esser for some of that. Okay. So Mitchell Lallier is our contributor. Over a number of years, Mitchell has trouble communicating sometimes with people outside, so I had to be his interpreter on some things. So he didn't get what he needed from the USHA many years ago, and so I made some connections and he got it. So he's a bit of a unique person because he recruited older players to get into the game, and he recruits and works with younger players. That's a unique position. He started in 2005, and he set up 3 days a week, 6 a.m. and noon, and he would just go up to people at the Midway Y and say, "You should be playing handball." And he'd bring them in, get them working on it. He would invite more experienced players to come and work with them over as they became better, and it worked over a number of years. He brought in some of the players that Minnesota folks will recognize: Emmanuel Woods, Steve Ocherno, Sergio Gonzalez, Ma Vang, Dave Abramson, John Johnson, Lee Johnson, and others. So sort of from scratch, he got them to play handball, which is wonderful. As he also, the German immersion school was located next to the Midway Y, and Sie sprechen Deutsch. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. So he got 50 students to come for over a 6-week period. I think we had 2 days a week and 2 different groups within each day. And again, we had some experienced players being the teachers, and it worked. We got them going. They enjoyed it. They got exposed to the game. That's what it's all about. As an offshoot of that, the Midway Y started organizing a program to get youth to come there on Saturdays, and so that also built. And Mitchell organized the first youth handball as part of our state championships. That was back in 2008, I believe. It's the first time that happened. And that's happened over the years. He also worked with the University of Minnesota on a summer sports program to train more kids in the 8 to 13 area. Mitchell works at every tournament, national tournament, local tournaments, world tournaments, and even this tournament. So he's a presence and he helps out. His kids helped us get the 2 one-wall courts at Clayland Park, where we're playing part of the tournament this year. They went and got 125 signatures from the neighbors of around Clayland Park to say we support this, and that really helped. Another kudo I got from, I was trying to get some money from the city of St. Paul to help pay for the court. That was a long struggle, and we didn't really get it, but the handball community rose to the occasion, and we got it built. One of the board members, when I was presenting, trying to beg for the money, said, "Oh yeah, Mitchell Allier, I know him. He's at the Midway Y, and he promotes handball to everybody." And I think that pretty much sums it up. Last thing, there's a rec center near the Midway Y called Hancock Rec Center. They have a gym with a wall that you can pull across the gym, and we did a one-wall training program there. Rich Ryan and I and you and Joseph, I think, helped teach it, and that got COVIDed out, unfortunately. But the kids really enjoyed it, and since then, actually, at least one summer, they've had kids go from the rec center over to the one-wall courts, and they train on that. Joseph, you were involved with that, I believe, also. So I have no doubt Mitchell is a worthy addition to our Hall of Fame, and so now I'd like to invite him up and say a few words.
Thank you, everybody. I first want to thank my family, especially my wife, Ninoska, who allowed me time and the money to invite others to play the game of handball. As Greg said, is when I first started getting handball, I called Matt. I sent Matt a few messages, but he didn't know who I was, so I couldn't get any equipment. So eventually Greg got that and took care of it. So thanks, Matt. Rule number 1, since I'm your coach, you can never beat me in the game of handball. That includes Joseph, my son. Most Minnesota handball players have heard me say to a new person I meet, "Have I invited you to play handball?" And that goes to doctors, lawyers, anybody else I meet on the street. I invite them all to play. If the game is to continue to grow, each one of you must invite others to play the game. So that's what I'm going to send you away with is try getting other people to play. Invite. You never know who's going to say yes, but try it. Last, thank you to the MSHA for selecting me to be part of the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Matt and Pete. They're the great handball players. I'm not being recognized for my playing skills, but for my recruiting and training skills of new players of the game of handball. Last, Memorial Day is on Monday. Do we have any veterans in here? Could we get them to stand so we give them a round of applause? Thank you for your service.
Thanks, Mitchell. I neglected to give him his notebook.
Thank you.
He can't lose it because all the Minnesota Handball Hall of Famers are going to come up at the end to get a picture. They'll all be wearing jackets except the 3 tonight, but they've got to bring their little things up, okay? All right. It's time to talk about Pete Krauser now, and we're going to actually ask Matt Hiber to come up and give us some comments.
All good.
Okay. This will absolutely be rated G, so no sweat here. One of my favorite handball stories ever told to me by Pete Krauser. I think it's going back to about 1998. I think he's playing the national tournament against Vince Munoz at the Wells Cab Club. And I don't think he told me after the match, but he said, Vince Munoz walked up to me, and if you don't know who he is, he's a multinational champion, Hall of Fame guy, soft-spoken, doesn't say a whole lot. He said, yeah, Vince walked up to me before the match, and he says, he bounces the ball, he looks at me right in the eyes, and says, hey man, you finally got the draw you're looking for. and I was like, what is that supposed to mean? You know. So anyway, it goes on, and he said, yeah, Vince goes on to destroy me like 6-4, whatever. So anyway, the point of the story is that he's a great storyteller, willing to take a shot at himself for the sake of humor, keeps stories short. He's a master of impressions. Okay. If he spends any time with anybody in this room, he could do make fun of you inside of 10 seconds, okay? He would do an outstanding impression of you. We were at a tournament in Kansas City one time, three-wall tournament, and we're about 10, 12 people standing around, and he did somebody, I don't recall who it was, and he had everybody, hey, do an impression of me, do an impression of me, you know? And he's like, I can't do it upon request, you know? So anyway, he's a master of impressions. We lived together for 3 years. Honestly, all I remember is having laughs and fun. Of course, we were in our 20s, so you know, very easy to come by with laughs and fun. We both moved on from those days, but we're in excessive amounts of contact with texts and phone calls, and we philosophize and talk, and just like the old days. So that's all I want to share about Pete. I could go on, but I'm not going to. Pete Krauser.
Yeah. I just want to give a few statistics for Pete before he comes up. They're pretty impressive, I think. Okay, he won, in Minnesota, he won 12 singles and doubles championships together and 9 second places between the years 97 and as late as 2016. He played on the Pro Handball Tour, as Matt mentioned. He achieved the number 12 pro ranking in 2001. He beat Tommy Little in the Nationals and qualified for 5 pro stops. And he reached the quarterfinals in the Juarez Pro Stop in Mexico. And Pete and his partner, Chris Iverson, finished second in the 35-plus doubles in the 2008 National Tournament in Kansas City. And with that, I'd like Pete to come up.
Thank you for inviting me. It's good to see all of you here. It's an honor to be here with Matt and Mitch and all of you. Good to see some familiar faces from in town and from out of town. Excuse me. Also, honored to be joined by my family at this table over here. My wife Leah and my son Ike and daughter Greta. My sister Jenny and her wife Catherine. My brother Mike and his wife Maria, and our nephew Conrad. My brother Dan and his wife Lydia couldn't be here, but they're here in spirit. And speaking of in spirit, before I say anything else, I'd like to thank my parents, Dick and Carmen Krauser, for raising me, for encouraging me, and for giving me the opportunity to play this great game. It's hard to believe that it was 28 years ago that my dad was up here speaking, being inducted, and I was out in the crowd watching him. I'm so sorry that they can't be here, but I think they are looking down right now from the best seats in the house. From as far back as I can remember, handball has always been a part of my life. My earliest memories of the game were actually at home, with the unforgettable sight of my dad's gym bag coming through the door with sweaty gloves hanging off the side. There were also numerous black handballs always floating around the house at all times. Yes, black handballs, that's how old I am. The ones that hurt, that were so hard that they hurt just to look at. I spent many hours watching my dad play at the Minneapolis Y and the Minneapolis Athletic Club. My siblings, Dan, Mike, and Jenny and I spent time together on the court trying out the game, and also played in some tournaments together. We even had a basement court made out of ping pong tables and plywood. So obviously I was hooked and wanted to get better. My dad said, "Handball's easy, just watch me play. And then don't do it that way." So, needing more help, I was introduced to General Bob Schauman and his group of youth players, including Ryan Maloney and Matt Hiber, who helped me develop my game. Bob was a great mentor who would help you find the technique that worked best for you, and he would encourage you to play your own style of game. But perhaps his best words of advice to me were, Your return of serve sucks. Trust me, I worked on it. In subsequent years, I would also benefit from the instructions of greats such as Gary Rohr, who took me on as a doubles player at the age of 5, and Paul Schultz, who taught me how to finally stroke the ball correctly. I owe you two a debt of gratitude. After a few years of away from the game, I was reintroduced to handball by Maloney and Hiber. We partied and went to tournaments with the likes of Chris Iverson and Dan Lyon and Joe Hagan and JJ Corman and Chris Tico and Mark Tobin and Tom Little, and oh man, handball suddenly got really fun. Part of that fun included being carried to several doubles titles by Chris Iverson, and with Brian Kuntz for one as well. Apparently, bald guys make good doubles partners. Actually, Chris was supposed to be up here tonight, not me, but I had to talk them into it. Another fun part was the adventure of travel. What other sport allows regular people like you and me to rub elbows with and even play against some of the best players in the world? To see amazing places like Anchorage, Alaska, the St. Anthony Club in Minneapolis, to hang out in Times Square or go to the beach in Orange County, to nearly get kidnapped in Juarez, Mexico, or even more dangerous, to wander the streets of Seattle at 1 a.m. with Dan Armijo. Sure, living with low rent, traveling on the cheap, sleeping on box springs and in bathtubs with 6 people to a hotel room at pro qualifiers had its time. But how long would this lifestyle be sustainable? After months of either hearing gunshots down the street or dodging our landlord's tighty-whities on the clothesline outside our apartment, Hiber put it best. Dude, we gotta get out of here. Yes, the time had come for quality of life to move a couple rungs up the ladder. And sure enough, once again, handball friends would soon answer the call. Let's face it, handball isn't always the most family-friendly sport, but I have found that it can lead to family. Thanks to Ryan and Kate Maloney, I met Kate's sister Leah, and a few years later, we were married and have 2 amazing kids, Ike and Greta. I couldn't be happier with where I have been, where I am now, and how I got here. Handball has done great things for me. It has shown me the thrill of winning. It has also taught me how to accept losing. It has found me new friends, kept me close to old friends, kept me close to family, and it has given me new family. The cherry on top is it has reunited me with my dad in the MSHA Hall of Fame, and I'm very honored to join Matt Hiber and the ranks of the other local legends I've looked up to all these years. I certainly hope handball continues to be a part of my life. Without it, I'd have nothing. Thanks to all of you. Thank you, friends. Thank you, family. Thank you, handball. You're not rid of me yet. The next inductee needs no introduction, but I'm going to say a few words about him anyway. It's an honor to be in the same list of inductees with him. One time I told my wife, Leah, I'm going to win the state tournament this year. Her reply was, so Matt Hiber isn't playing this year? Yes, this was the harsh truth about entering the state open singles. You either played badly and lost early, or you played great and then you ran into a buzzsaw named Hiber. I met Matt when I was about 14 years old, and to be honest, I didn't really like the guy. But as I got to know him, we became great friends and also roommates, spending countless hours together on the court and on the town. We were both coming out of bad breakups, and I guess you could say we helped each other get back on the horse. We were basically the odd couple. If you've ever played with Matt or even talked to him, then you know he's a friendly but no-nonsense kind of guy who doesn't mince words. He once told me, Krauser, you got to be more closed-minded. And I said, Matt, if I were closed-minded, we wouldn't be friends. The reality is, Matt has a big heart, and we'd be the first one to help you out with a problem or to cheer you up when the chips are down. I've learned a lot of things from him. To name a few, be true to yourself, work hard, play hard, don't give up, never let them see you sweat, and that, yes, it's okay to bring beer into the steam room. Matt's tenacity and longevity in the game were an inspiration for me to keep playing. His innumerable championships and his tenure on the Pro Tour truly make him legendary. Please allow me to introduce my former roommate, my nemesis, and great friend, Matt Hiber.
Not to steal his thunder here, but let's just listen to a little bit of Matt's accomplishments. Okay, well, Matt won 10 open singles in the Minnesota State Handball Association and 3 open doubles for 13 total first places and 12 second places. He played on the Pro Tour from 1995 to 2007, achieving a number 9 U.S. ranking in April of 1999. He beat John Bike, yes, that John Bike, in the quarters of the Kansas City Pro Stop in 1998, and he beat Randy Moronis in a round of 16 at the 1995 Nationals in Houston. He won two pro qualifying tournaments, not just qualified, he won the tournaments. And he qualified for 10 pro stops in the 1990s. Matt and his partner Kevin Hill won the 45-plus doubles and the 2018 World Championships here at the UM Rec Center. And he was also a USH Central Regional representative back in the early 2000s. So with that, let's hear it for Matt.
Yes, Pete is much funnier than I am, I can tell you that right now. That's good stuff. I've got about 3 minutes and 50 seconds to go through about 38 years here, so we're gonna try to get rolling here. Okay, it was a cold, check. Are we good here? Okay. It was a cold morning, early November 1985. I was a sophomore at Hillmurray High School in St. Paul, Minnesota. Minnesota is a full-blooded hockey state if you're not from here, and Hillmurray High School was one of the kings of hockey in the state for, the last 50 years. On this particular morning, I was incredibly nervous because I had made it through the first few cuts of the hockey tryouts, and there were about 110 kids trying out for the storied Hillmurray program. The final list would be posted in the main entrance for the entire school to see. I thought I'd played pretty well during the tryouts, maybe even good enough to make the team. However, I had my doubts. There were a lot of really good players out there, and as I walked up to the list, I'm elbowing through students to get to that list and see, is my name on the list? Guess what? Not on the list. First thought was, what am I going to do now? Okay. So, that's exactly how I got started in handball. Okay. I've heard a lot of stories about how guys get started in handball with, a parent, a coach, a teacher, what have you, but I've never heard the one where, I couldn't make my high school hockey team, so I couldn't play some handball. Okay. So anyway, fortunately the year before for Christmas, my mom got us a family YMCA membership. I spent some time working out at the YMCA, shooting some baskets, even playing some racquetball. Didn't know what to do. Yes, absolutely. And then I saw some guys playing some handball. I thought it was pretty interesting. And my dad encouraged me to play some handball, even though he was not a player himself. I gave it a try, and needless to say, that's kind of how it goes. It's the rest is history. The comparison I've got written down here, and I'm just going to read it. It says, handball became to me what a fifth of whiskey is to a drinker, a card game is to a gambler, or a game of pool is to a hustler. I was consumed by handball for a very long time. After many twists and turns through high school, I went to Lake Forest College for a year, and after more twists and turns, I went down to Memphis for several more years, and I did graduate with an accounting degree that pretty much went unused. And why is that? It's because all of my classmates were doing internships and getting ready to take the CPA license, and I was doing odd jobs just to make sure I could get to that next tournament to get my next fix. After some more, Pete talks about this, after some more stumbling and bumbling, I found myself back in Minneapolis at a tournament, ran into my old handball acquaintance, Pete Krauser. We were in what I call a transitional period. Transitional just means you had nothing going on, okay? And so he asked me, hey, I'm looking for a new place, want to be roommates? And I was just like, sure, sounds good, you know? And I really hadn't probably seen him since I was 17 or 18, but that's kind of where I was at. I can honestly say that Pete and I had more fun than a couple of guys should ever have, honestly. We'd always come back to the apartment every evening. We'd be standing around eating our dinner or whatever we threw in the microwave. We'd be standing around town. We had a kitchen table. And one of us would say, hey, do you want to play some handball? Yeah, sure, let's go. You know, so it was almost a nightly thing, you know, so we'd finish up our meal, we'd go play some handball. And that was that's the way life was. You know, it was great stuff. We drove to tournaments, we flew to tournaments, we joked, we laughed. We did a lot together. We even made fun of each other's girlfriends. And I don't think we ever had an argument. That's the kind of relationship we had. We just, things were always good. So after, let's say, always talking, laughing, philosophizing, to this day, Pete is my best friend, and he's the reason I ended up in Minnesota, and really the reason I have my wife and my kids and the lifestyle that I have now, because we had so much fun together that I ended up staying in Minnesota, even though I never thought I'd live here ever again. And he also talked about this as well. You know, because of handball, I've been to the greatest cities in America, competed countless times against, you know, USHA Hall of Famers, met people from all walks of life. Recently, about a year ago, I was talking to my younger son, he's a hockey player, of course, and I was trying to give him the don't make the mistakes that I made, kid speech, okay? Now keep in mind, I never kept it a secret about how much I love, you know, going to the tournaments, scratching in crummy hotel rooms, playing for nickels and dimes. And I loved it, and I've told my boys about it. And so it should not have come to a surprise to me after I told them to be careful about pursuing a passion that may not be much of a payout in the end. He said, I said, don't do what I did with handball. And he said, in all seriousness, yeah, well, it sounds like you had a whole lot of fun, Dad. I said, yeah, I guess I did, kid. And I just had to walk away because he was 100% right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, before we shut off the Minnesota State Handball Association, I'd like to invite all members of the Hall of Fame who might be in the audience, including our three new inductees, to come up and for a group picture.
Oh, that would be me. Sorry, I didn't know.
You want some there? I didn't get it over here. Yeah, why don't you get in the middle? Just kind of balance. Make us look better. Yeah. All right.
No, like
Nope.
Good call. Good call. That's called cropping.
That's what I did.
One more.
Pictures. Thank you very much.
Gotta be bad on this.
Oh, I guess I turned it up enough. Can you hear me in the back? Outstanding. All right. That's some real inspiring stuff. Thank you. Made me think about, and everybody should think about how you got into the game and how we all went through this journey from where we're at. So thank you guys for sharing your story. That was amazing. Getting on with our ceremony, it's my pleasure to introduce again USHA President Dennis Hogan to get our National Hall of Fame ceremony kicked off. Thank you.
He's a little taller than I am. Ladies and gentlemen, my task at this point is to set the stage for the two ladies who will pay tribute to our Hall of Fame inductee. The Hall of Fame is the repository of the legend of those dominant players who have made an indelible mark on our sport at the national level, and those contributors who have rendered an outstanding and unselfish service to handball. The actual physical Hall of Fame is at our national office in Tucson in the Hall of Fame Museum, open to all during business hours. This includes an oil portrait of every inductee in our collection. It is above and around the walls, like this one here, will be added to that collection. We have memorabilia from over 100 years of handball history. I encourage all to make a visit to Tucson and visit and see us there. We have 4 Hall of Fame inductees here tonight. 1 is a contributor and 3 are players. I would first like to recognize Coach Mike Dow, please. Legendary coach and mentor for our students as a contributor. There are 3 players. We have Rosemary Bellini, please. Leanne Martin, please. And lastly, Anna Engel Christoph. I would just like to say that it is meet and fitting that these ladies be here tonight to welcome this other lady who is one of theirs, and their friends, compatriots, rivals, roommates, and it's wonderful that they'll be here to receive their sister into this elite company. The nomination is made by any USHA member with a listing of player achievements or contributor service. It is then submitted to the Hall of Fame committee. The player must have been dominant, over 40 years of age, and retired from serious open play for a minimum of 5 years. After 2 readings by the committee, 1 year apart, if voted to recommend for Hall of Fame induction, the nomination is submitted to the USHA board for final admission. Inductees are honored traditionally at the 4-Wall Nationals or at a place of their time and choosing. Fortunately, Lisa has chosen to allow us tonight to pay her honor. To begin this ceremony, I would like to ask Colleen Decker to come up and speak with a Hall of Fame inductee.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this without looking in that direction. My husband said, "Don't cry tonight." And I said, "Have you met me?" And he said, "Well, don't cry too much then." And I'm afraid I'm going to have to kind of read it because I want to make sure that I'm saying it right and doing it right. So Lisa has so many friends, handball friends, who could be up here tonight. So I'm really honored that I get to be part of this significant achievement tonight with Andra. It's been great to see Andra again and connect, and we've had just a ball doing this over the last month. I'd also like to thank Bob Meyer from the Canadian Handball Association who submitted Lisa's name for nomination. Lisa was actually inducted in 2019, but in true Lisa fashion, accepting this award without her family there would have been unthinkable for her, so she waited until it was possible for them to open.
Already?
2 paragraphs. Not bad, not bad. 2 paragraphs. I met Lisa almost 4 decades ago. She was working at the downtown YMCA in Winnipeg, and during one of our local tournaments, she stopped by the courts and saw people playing a game she didn't recognize. What is this sport, she wondered. Where's the racket? She met John and Helen Friesen at the tournament that day, and Helen asked Lisa, why don't you try handball? And so Lisa did try handball. And after just a few short sessions, she was beating Helen regularly and rallying with John without keeping score. And John thought, wow, if Lisa switched to handball, she would leave a mark on this perfect game. No one could have predicted her unprecedented ascent in this game we love. So every 2 paragraphs, this is probably going to happen. I'm just warning you. Okay, now I'm going to try to get it together. So soon, Lisa was going to tournaments with the guys in Fargo and Regina, and she started beating the guys, the good ones. By now, she was hooked on this game, and she would make it her mission to perfect her skills, become a student of the game, and along the way, build a lifetime of friendships. Lisa would be the first to say that there were many players and coaches who were key to her development. John and Helen Friesen, some guy named Merv Deckert, Kit Peterson and Sheila Bailey, Kathleen Bedard and Donald Cote, Jerry Lynn Wagner, Deanne Vallee, Jessica Golly, Rosemary Bellini, Leanne Martin, Andrew Torrance, Anna Engel. So many people rooting for Lisa's success. How could you not? So Lisa started looking at ways to get better, train harder, and understand the game of handball. Kit and Sheila met Lisa at a tournament many years ago and were impressed with her desire to improve her game and become the best. They invited her to come to Regina and practice with them. At that time, Kit was in charge of the women's program, and he was able to bring Mike Dow in for a clinic, who I had the pleasure to meet tonight. Over the years, Lisa spent many great visits in Regina to train with Kit, and Sheila and Kit both treated Lisa like one of their family, except she had to wash their car as payment. They both came to love Lisa with her combat boots, her bandana, and driving her Jeep. Later, at a tournament in Winnipeg, Lisa asked Kit to look for her father while she was playing and take care of him while she played her match. And Kit asked, how will I know who he is? And Lisa said, he'll be the only guy with creased press jeans and wearing an ascot tie. Lisa's parents became a fixture at the handball tournaments, traveling far and wide to cheer Lisa on. If you knew Jack and Val, make me laugh. You would be quick to figure out that handball tournaments were not their typical social circles that they were accustomed to. The original power couple, their energy was infectious, and everyone knew when Jack and Val arrived. They soon fit in, however, and became friends with many of Lisa's opponents. Making friends came easy to the Frasers, and this is a trait that Lisa inherited and embraced. Another key figure in Lisa's development and ultimately her success was Kathleen Bedard from Quebec. Kathleen was our Rosemary Bellini, a perennial winner, a champion, and a fierce competitor. Kathleen tells a story when she first met Lisa in 1987, this is only 2 years after Lisa started playing, where Kathleen was defending her national title and had to play Lisa in the semis. She didn't know who Lisa was, and it was a brutal wake-up call, as Kathleen says, as Lisa took her to a tiebreaker. After that match, they started a personal and competitive bond that brought them a world doubles title in one short year. Kathleen, who'd been playing for many years at that time, said that Lisa helped her with her confidence, and until Kathleen retired, Lisa was a great source of motivation. Quite the compliment coming from Kathleen. In 1991, in preparation for the Worlds in Phoenix, Donald and Kathleen set up a boot camp in Quebec City, and they invited Lavonna Malloyne, Nancy Moulter, Diane Vallée, who came and trained with Donald and Kathleen for a full week. As Kathleen would say, as I reflect on some insights and comments about Lisa, I see handball as the dividing line in Lisa between her youth and maturity, although she never really grew up. She's still a kid at heart, and Kathleen succinctly captured Lisa's philosophy, a team spirit within an individual sport. So with this foundational work, Lisa began her winning history that left her mark on the game of handball. Lisa would kill me if I went through all her wins and successes and her blah, 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 and all of the things that she's accomplished. But even I was astonished when I started to look at it in totality. You think you know somebody, you were there. I was there for so many of the wins and losses. But when I started to really look at it, I was astonished. So just a very quick overview. I'm not going through everything bit by bit. But she started playing in '85. In '87, she won her first major US title, slamming at the Bees, the US Nationals. In 1988, she won her first world title with Kathleen, and she was runner-up in the singles. She'd only been playing for 3 years. She would go on to win 3 more world double titles with Jessica Gawley. In '91, she won her first Canadian singles, and she would have slammed if she didn't have such a weak doubles partner. And in '94, she won her first world singles title in Ireland on the same court that Merv had won 10 years earlier. In '04, she was inducted into the Manitoba Hall of Fame, only the second handball player to be inducted into the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame. And in 2013, she won her 11th Canadian singles title in Winnipeg after not winning since 2009. Not only did she win, but she was also inducted that tournament into the CHA Hall of Fame. Her proudest moment, though, of that amazing achievement was that she got to do it in front of her friends and family. If you know Lisa, you know that her family is her priority, as evidence here tonight. She had her first set of twins in 1999, and shockingly, her second set 5 years later.
I'm still crying.
Lisa was quick to celebrate her wins and honor her losses. Never mistake Lisa's joy of the game and her love of playing with her not taking handball very seriously and her competitive spirit. She's easy to laugh, she provides constant guidance, and offers a big old bear hug to anyone in need. But in all these wins and losses, Lisa never spoke poorly of her opponents, always lifting people up and never putting them down, except when playing Daryl and he'd make a bad shot. And she'd say, "What was that shot?" Playing a weaker opponent, Lisa made sure that they had fun and they learned something, a true testament of her character. I asked people who know Lisa best for some words to describe her. Passionate, caring, kind, honest, adventurous, fun were common adjectives used to describe her. Lisa was always the crowd favorite, at home, often in the US, and on the world stage. Leanne Martin tells a story about how when playing Lisa in Winnipeg several years ago, Leanne can't remember who won or lost, but she said smart money would be on Lisa, that she won that match. And during the match, Leanne would make a blistering pass shot, she'd crack her serve, or she'd wallpaper a lob down the side, and the crowd was silent. And Lisa would adjust her eye guards and the crowd would go wild. Just like then, Lisa continues to be adored by fans and opponents alike, and Leanne remains one of her biggest fans. Andrea and I are going to sort of split here now. She's going to come up and then I'll come back up and we'll close. But that's the first section.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to mirror Colleen's. I may have to pause now and then myself, so if you'll excuse me. And I may repeat some things, but I just think it's amazing to look at Lisa's record over the years. She built on that solid foundation in Canada and came to the US and brought her talents to our competitions in the late 80s. Colleen has told you many of her titles, but in the 90s, Lisa added 3 more four-wall national singles titles and 7 national doubles titles with Lavana Madden and Jess Gawley. Jess became one of her lifetime partners, and they won several tournaments and titles. There were also many women's classic titles, and in addition to all the titles that Lisa won, I think it's important to also remember how many finals she was actually in, and the numbers will probably double, if not more. She was there all the time, consistent, competitive, and a joy to watch. Lisa not only, but back to the Women's Classic, and Anna, you guys had some epic battles that we enjoyed watching, and you became each other's worthiest opponents, and it was fun to watch, and you traded those titles over about 10 or 13 years, I think, more, 17, something like that. Lisa not only collected titles here in the US, but fans and friends of her partners and mentors, as well as competitors. Rosemary Bellini filled all those roles, and she shares this story. One of my memorable moments with Lisa happened in the early 90s up in Winnipeg. I went up to visit Lisa, and we were playing at the singles at the university courts one evening. A friend of Lisa's came in and said, "Lisa, I think someone's broken into your car." And Lisa finished listening to him, and then, "Come on, Ro, let's keep playing." I was like, "You don't want to go see what's happening with your car? I'd be like out there in a second." Lisa says, "No, we'll check it out later." And Rose was very surprised, but she said that that was the first time that she got the lesson, and one of Lisa's best traits, the old adage, don't sweat the small stuff. Oh, and the kicker to the broken car window was that they didn't need to break in. Lisa left the door open just in case that happened, and it was a soft top, so they didn't have to take that. But anyway, Rose said that this is just one of my many moments I've had over the years with Lisa that has made me think more than once, don't sweat the small stuff. Thank you, Lisa, for being my friend and helping me see the difference between the important things in life and the not so important things. Beth Raleigh, who was also an opponent and a friend and a competitor, shared this story. We felt it was important to gather words from all Lisa's friends. So if you'll bear with me, I'll read this. Since the mid-late 80s, I have appreciated your friendship and the many great times we've had. Our friendship reminds me of something I read once. We've been friends so long, I can't remember which one of us is the bad influence. The spring I spent at your lake house with Rosemary will always be one of my favorites. This city slicker from Texas didn't know you could drive a car on a lake. And she didn't really believe it either. The trips you made to Texas and playing one wall in 100-degree heat were always a blast. But Lisa never complained. Oh, here we go. You've always been one of the most humble champions I have ever known. Winning and losing always revealed your true character. This character and your stellar reputation made you a role model for all women players. You definitely led by example. My favorite handball memory was when we played one-wall doubles at the one-wall nationals at Coney Island. You, to the old New York betting dudes, were obviously a favorite for them to bet on. When they loudly shared their displeasure that I would even think about hitting a ball, you were quick to get in their face and defend me. I was so freaked out by the chatter, but was quickly reminded that you had my back. Congrats, Lisa, on your well-deserved Hall of Fame induction. The end of the 90s brought off-court changes to Lisa's life as well. Daryl came into her life, and in July of '99, they welcomed their first twins, Harrison and Ann. Chatton Hayes, in a Court Chatter article for Handball magazine, asks, so what does the always unflappable Lisa say about the uncertainties of delivering preemie babies and adjusting to life with infant twins? And Lisa responded, You can't get yourself all freaked by the things you can't control. And she lives her life by that. Lisa began a road back to competitive play in the Worlds in 2000, playing doubles with Jess and making it to the finals. Later that year, Lisa and Daryl were married at the lake, that magical place, surrounded by family and friends during the weekend-long celebration. The 2000s saw Lisa add 2 U.S. four-wall national singles, 4 U.S. four-wall doubles titles, a sweep of the U.S. singles and doubles in 2003, and 2 world doubles titles and several more classic wins, and again, many more finals appearances. Another friend, competitor, and partner, Tracy Davis, recalls, "I'm such a Lisa fan. The first time I met Lisa was four-wall nationals in 2001. Until that point, I had only heard and read about her handball prowess, the Amazonian Canadian player who was powerfully smooth on the court with either hand and typically, dominated her opponents, some of whom were already in the Hall of Fame or would be one day. To say I was impressed to see her play in person is an understatement, and I was so intimidated to even speak to her outside the court. However, I did later that day, sat down at the same table, and it became a marvelous memory for me. I do remember, I learned a lot about Lisa about her quick wit, infectious laugh and smile, down to earth, easy to talk to. I was very glad to have had that moment. The first time I played Lisa, I knew I was outmatched in four-wall skills and experience. My strategy was to just use my athleticism to return every serve and shot and run and run and run. I ended up watching in awe at how she hit her power serves, Z serves, and backwall shots. Her positioning, finesse, and power were effortless, and I could not predict what she was hitting. She did it all with the same motion. It was incredible to see it up close in my face. Halfway through the match, I struggled with wanting to be competitive, being a fan, remembering to hit the ball instead of just watching what she was doing. It was the most fun beatdown in my career. Afterwards, we shared a few jokes and talked about getting a beer. Before leaving the court, Lisa became serious as she imparted some wisdom to help improve my game. Follow the ball with your nose. She showed me what that looked like, and to this day, it helps as my four-wall game developed. Her advice was so useful, especially during matches when I needed to regroup and refocus. 2003 was a stellar year for Lisa. She swept the national singles titles at the four-wall US, Canadian four-wall, US three-wall, and a finals appearance at the Worlds and the Women's Classic. Plus, doubles titles at US four-wall, US three-wall, and the Worlds. Simply amazing. In 2004, Lisa continued competing while carrying their second twins, Jackson and Carter. Tracy also remembers, she says, one of the greatest moments burned into my psyche was watching Lisa win the Women's Classic in 2004. When she was pregnant with Jackson and Carter, she was 4 months pregnant but looked 9. I wasn't the only person who saw Lisa and thought, how's she going to play while carrying 2 6-feet-tall babies? Lisa didn't seem fazed. The doctor said, yeah, you probably shouldn't compete after this tournament. I watched as many matches, Tracy watched as many matches as she could that weekend, and she saw Lisa playing, and everyone was amazed at her performance, great attitude, and it just solidified Tracy's admiration and fandom. She played Yvonne August in the finals, and everyone thought, oh, Lisa's going to have her work cut out for her. Well, Yvonne wasn't happy at the end of the day because Lisa persevered. Tracy said she hit every shot like a four-wall cannon, and if you've seen her, you know what that is, including crisp low serves with a huge belly, like bending really low and hitting the ball. But she was incredibly happy for Lisa. Whenever she's on the court, it's impossible for me not to root for her. And in July that year, Jackson and Carter were born, and then things really got busy. JC tells some stories of down at the lake. Lisa is a very chill person, she said, and she's indefatigable. Nothing stops her, not even giving birth to the second set of twins. Just days after bringing them into the world, it was time to go to the lake, so she packed up the van, took the whole crew 2.5 hours to the lake, literally the first possible moment she could escape. The van stuffed to the brim with babies, 5-year-olds, mountains of stuff. Nothing was going to stop her, causing some trouble. But they made it work, and you can see they're all still together and happy as could be. Lisa wrapped up her competitive handball career in 2009 with a Canadian Nationals doubles title and a World Doubles Finals. Tracy also shared, what I love about Lisa is how she chooses to be a positive person with whatever challenges may come her way. How she elevates those around her and challenges them to find the best within themselves. Her willingness to teach her knowledge, her openness and authenticity, her laugh and her smile, and that laugh and smile, and she always said to laugh and smile and enjoy yourself. It's serious, but it's not. Congratulations, Amazonian Canadian. I know you are continuing to shine in whatever you are doing and sharing your light with others. Lisa, the official reason we're here is due to your handball awesomeness. 25 years of competitive play in the US, Canada, and the world across all sports genres. 19 USHA Nationals titles, 20 Canadian Nationals titles, 10 Women's Classics, 6 World titles, and 2 Hall of Fame inductions. Congratulations. But it's also evident from all these tributes that Colleen and I have gotten from folks and we've read tonight that we're really here to honor you, the wonderful person that you are. My stories will stay off the record. But they mirror everyone else's sentiments also. I admire your heart, grace, and strength, how you love being a mom, your character and compassion, your ability to be present in the moment, your commitment. When I first met Lisa, I was immediately attracted to her friendly demeanor, fun-loving spirit, and a wonderfully sarcastic attitude. Along the way, I also discovered many other attributes that have kept me both entertained and in love. I have witnessed in amazement her commitment, perseverance, and work ethic as an athlete, teacher, and a mother. As a husband, in spite of my efforts to keep up with her, I often lag far behind. I must be doing something right, though, as I never hear her complain about my contributions. To have met and partnered with someone that has remained so energetic,
Okay, so in closing, I spoke with, I spoke with family friend Susan Glass, who was great friends with Lisa's parents, her and her husband, for her insights and her comments about Lisa. Lisa was a bit of a late bloomer, but once she immersed her. So just before we bring Lisa up, Lisa, no, am I doing that? No, am I doing that now? Okay. Lisa's parents were heavily and deeply committed, involved with the Winnipeg Art Gallery in Winnipeg for over 40 years. They instilled this love of art in her. So Lisa, on behalf of the CHA, the MHA, and many of your handball friends, we will be presenting you with a gift card for the Winnipeg Art Gallery, which I forgot to get before I came here. So I'll be getting that when I go home. And so you can select a piece of art to hang in your home and remind you of your parents, the game of handball, and this night.
Thank you.
Lisa, if you come up to the stage, we'd like to present you.
Oh, okay. Wait, which one is it? What do we do? Okay. We'll come back. We're right here.
We lost our agendas, sorry.
That's amazing. Thank you, Andra and Colleen. I know how much work went, well, actually I don't. But they had a few clarifying questions. And last week we did a FaceTime, I guess last week. And they were just